What's up, everybody? Welcome to weekday 7 of AP Week. I am your host, Tommy Son, and I'm replacing Stella today. And Alex is laughing at me for the cliche YouTube openings, but I'll ignore his evil grins. We're doing AP Comp Sci today. What does A stand for? AP Comp Sci
Nothing.
A?
It's
Oh,
it's
just
there used to be
A.
a B, but now there isn't, so it's just
All right.
redundant.
So we're doing AP Comp Sci A and principles. Yeah, this is the schedule. And
Class
then,
A.
yeah, okay. So we got Alexander Goldberg and Anjana. I don't know how to say your last name, and Turang is not here. Go for it.
Hey, what's up? So I'm Alex. I'm probably not qualified to be talking about this, but I took AP Computer Science last year, and I'm going to be studying computer science at Berkeley next year. Um, go back. Okay. So first and foremost, what is AP Computer Science like at Branham and in general? Um, so first of all, AP Computer Science A is great preparation if you're interested in majoring in computer science or another STEM field. I would highly recommend taking AP CSA if you're planning to major in computer science, because, for instance, at Berkeley, the first computer science class basically has a prerequisite of equivalent computer science experience to APCSA. So if you're planning to major in computer science, this is a critical class to be doing. Um, and I won't lie that this class is fast paced, especially at Branham. The teacher, at least this year, is Mr. Turner. He likes to get through the material fast. You will probably finish almost the entire AP test 3 months before the AP test. This is good and bad because you'll have to get through all the material very fast, but you will also be very prepared for the AP test. AP Computer Science A um, is a medium workload. It's not as much as some other AP classes, but you will still have homework. You'll have take-home projects and coding assignments, but basically your main job is just to keep up with the material. Next slide. So what do you do in class? You might have noticed that these slides are in code syntax. This is Java. That's the language of AP Computer Science A. Um, it's one of the most popular programming languages in the world. It's an industry standard, and pretty much everything you do in APCS will be in Java, which is why I'm introducing you to it early. And probably the biggest component of your learning in APCS is building things with Java, right? From day one, you're going to be doing projects, making things. Um, like we made like a fortune teller, like zodiac signs. I remember that, and a lot of other fun projects that you get to build with Java as you go through the material. There's also smaller take-home assignments that are like individual bite-sized problems that are just automatically graded for correctness. Um, and as you go through the class and learn more, you'll just basically progress through harder and harder projects and assignments until you're prepared for the AP test. Slide. So the AP exam, like every other AP exam, has multiple choice and free response questions. This may change in the future, but as of now, this is a paper and pencil test, which may sound weird for like a coding class, but that's just how it is. You will get used to like tracing through programs and coding with a paper and pencil. Um, AP Computer Science is not known to be one of the harder exams. It has one of the highest 5 rates of any exam. I think it's like 25%. Um, I think the pass rate is close to 80%, and it's probably even higher at Branham. Um, so if you're interested in this class and you have interest in the material, you can feel pretty confident you're going to do well on this AP test. Most students do, especially most students from Branham, because the AP Computer Science class at Branham will really prepare you for the test. Yeah, on to CSP.
Hi, I'm CSP. So sorry, one second. Okay, so the class, a computer science principles class, is meant to give you an overview of what computer science is like. So it'll help you figure out if you want to go into computer science in the future or do CSA, and maybe which fields you're interested in. And for the AP exam, you'll be learning basic coding concepts in any language, but Mr. Turner, the classes teacher at Branham, teaches the class in Python, at least he did this year. We learn the basics of how the internet works, like how files are sent across systems and about different layers of abstraction. And we also learn to collect and clean data on Excel and also with code. So we learn how to use Python for lots of different things. And finally, we also learned about simulations and how they're used in the real world with some like semi-practical examples. And it's important to keep in mind that the class itself is not an AP, like it's not weighted, but it's paired with the AP Computer Science Principles exam because it teaches basically all the content and it will prepare students who take initiative as long as you're like willing to put in that extra work outside of class. Next slide. Okay, so first of all, the AP exam for the class doesn't require you to know any specific coding language, unlike CSA. It only really requires you to understand basic coding concepts and like the logic behind code. You'll need to make sure you also understand College Board specific syntax because they don't use a real coding language, but they do use something that resembles a lot of different coding languages. So you'll need to understand what exactly they do specifically, if that makes sense. And on the exam day, you'll be taking a 70-question multiple choice test that's 2 hours long, and it's worth 70% of your exam score, at least it was this school year. And it'll mostly be regular multiple choice questions, but there'll also be approximately 5-ish MCQs based on a passage that you read during the exam, and 8-ish multiple choice questions that require 2 answers to what you're being asked. And the exact numbers might change because they did change this year. So it might not be the same for you, but that's like a decent enough comparison for you to get an idea. And then the other 40 or 30% of the exam is determined by a coding project that you can work on throughout the year, but it's also, you don't need to spend the entire year if you don't want to. It's recommended, I think, 12 hours. You can basically do whatever you want with your project, but it has to include functions that you as the student make, and also lists, which you'll learn more about in the actual class. They're not too hard though. And also some other stuff, but those are like the main 2 things. And you'll also be answering free response questions about your project. That's like a whole thing, and you'll need to make sure you spend time on that properly. And you'll be submitting a minute-long video that's basically just showing your code being run. And you're actually allowed to work on your code with a partner or multiple people in your class, as long as they're also taking the exam. I believe there's some weird rules about it, but you are able to work with someone if you really want to, but your video and your free response question have to be like your own thing. You can, because it's like demonstrating your real understanding of the code. Next slide. So what is the difficulty level of the CSP class? That totally depends on your prior experience and understanding. But for me, as long as I followed along in the class and like studied a reasonable amount for quizzes, I was able to get like a pretty good grade. So I think it's fairly reasonable to expect a good grade as long as you're dedicated to your classes. Making sure I understood all the content that was being taught was more work, but like it was really worth it, especially for the AP exam, because that was like the preparation I really needed, although it wasn't completely necessary to get like a decent grade in the class. Although to get like a really good grade, you would need to understand everything. And Mr. Turner, who is the teacher, is super helpful. So the class is a lot easier with prior experience in computer science, but you definitely don't need it. And Mr. Turner, again, is super helpful. He'll take the time to like walk you through things as much as you need. Next slide. So for the homework load, it does depend on how much you do in class, like for your classwork, but generally there is not a lot of homework. most of the time the class is either like studying for your quizzes and tests or completing classwork, or we had final projects. So there's that, but that isn't final. So and if you don't really understand what you've done in class, then that does make it a little bit more of a heavy workload. It can take a few hours, but Mr. Turner, at least for this school year, he's had tutorials after school. So he's been able to help out lots of people after school for a pretty long time. So I don't know how it'll work out next year, but he is like really good at helping people quickly. So it probably won't be an issue. Next slide. Okay, and also preparing for the AP exam. So following along with the class, like just throughout the whole year, made sure that like most of the concepts in the exam were not terribly difficult to grasp. And the exam is really like understanding based. So it would be kind of difficult to do well if you've just memorized concepts without really understanding them. That would be a pretty big issue because you're supposed to be understanding these like basic, they are principles of computer science. So you do need to like really understand them. Also, so to prepare specifically some resources, the College Board concept videos that are on like the College Board student prep pages are really, really helpful. And I would totally recommend watching those. They're based on specific concepts that'll be tested in the exam. And they'll even tell you how weighted they are. So those are incredibly helpful. And you might need to ask Mr. Turner to assign these to you specifically, but there are also unit by unit progress checks that really help like test your understanding of the topics that the exam will cover. Additionally, outside of like College Board itself, Khan Academy is an awesome resource. They have, most people probably have used it already, but it has a specific computer science principles program. So you'll be able to read articles on it. You'll be able to take multiple choice quizzes and stuff like that. So all of those things are really great resources. Next slide.
I think that's it.
Okay,
Awesome.
cool.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, and that's the end of our AP Week program. Thank you for watching, and like, comment, and subscribe. Okay, thank you.